self-sufficient for our own good. Are we
Sorry,
too
what did you say?
self-sufficient?
Self-sufficient. Take two. Hold on. Marge, give me another drink. I gotta balance this out.
I know.
That was beautiful.
Yes.
Too self-sufficient. Are we too self-sufficient?
Yes. I said it really fast and it merged.
You did. I got it. I've been there. I speak into a lot of microphones, so I get it. How you could just like blah, 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 blah.
So for everybody popping on, like, subscribe, do all that fun jazz. Do that little notification bell to get notified when we upload a video each week. This is all gaining perspective from a female coach and a male counselor.
I'll play the role of the male counselor.
Yes. And we're all talking about, Gen X troubles, Gen X issues, Gen X things that come up. And quite often we are a skeptical group. We are a very self-reliant group, meaning that when we grew up, I mean, I was doing my own laundry and cooking my own meals by 7. And it was expected, and we didn't have the helicopter parenting that we turned into, how we raised our children. These are all generalities.
Can I dovetail that, please? Because I see why the people that are, let's say, within 10 years of my age are helicopter parents because of the shit that we went through.
Right.
We're like, I don't want to put somebody through that.
No. Yeah, because I would say 90%. I think I said this another time when we were talking. I would say probably about 90% of the time I came home to an empty house. And that was common. That wasn't an exception of the time. It was very much the norm. And we kind of learned to be by ourselves. In some ways, it's a positive because we became very resilient in that. But also, we don't ask for help. We're skeptical and don't trust other people to be able to aid in our journey. And recently, it was a tough lesson for me after my car accident because I couldn't do it alone. That Miss Independent Gen Xer, it wouldn't have been a productive experience if I wouldn't have asked for help. And so for everybody listening, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to surround yourself with people that have the same values as yourselves. Asking people for assistance and whatever that don't align in your views, your values, your environments, probably won't be productive. But if we take the time to really investigate who our people are, who our like-minded people are, we can really embrace life and, just kind of love life together. We don't have to always do it alone because quite often we're sandwiched between taking care of our parents and family members. I don't have children, but I am like the resident nurse in my family. So I get called quite often. So I feel like I have children, but I don't. So you're all serious, man. Rebuttal, man. Come on.
Oh, God. I mean, everything you were saying was so good because I was jumping right on with all of that. I know it's weird for me to be serious, right?
I know.
My supervisor loves the fact that I can be, like a clown and then be like also really, really serious and be clinical. I was thinking of, the times that I was in fourth grade, and I was coming home to an empty house. Now, it wasn't for 9 hours. But I knew that my mom would be home in, 45 minutes, an hour and a half, something like that. Either she ran to the store or had to work until X time or whatever. But find me a fourth grader that's walking into a house right now all by himself. Ain't happening. It is not happening anywhere. That was absolutely normal play in our day.
Right.
And I think that it contributes to our independence, our need to be that way, that it's ingrained into us. You showed me a meme. I'm gonna help you with that word, meme.
Meme.
Showed me a meme earlier, and it was bang on, and it's a long one. It's a long read, but it's worth it. If you throw that thing up here pretty soon, people can see that it's just totally worth it. There it is. Can you read that? Because it's too small for me.
Yeah, that's fine. I saw this on a millennial post. I don't mess around with anyone over 42. They are built different. Their families had them formally trained in something by the time they were 2. They had keys to the house by 5. They cooked full meals at 7, and they were pretty much self-sufficient by 9. Hello. They left their house at dawn every summer morning and didn't come back till nightfall, and survived all day on water from the garden hose. They might get a sandwich from one sandwich on the off chance somebody's parents had went shopping. They spent 3/4 of their lives by themselves, and a parent maybe checked on them twice a month. Most of them have evaded at least one kidnapping attempt, and they know 15 different ways to remove blood stains from clothes. The real F around and find out people.
Yes. Thank you for editing that for all of our PG audience.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. That's not wrong. None of that is wrong. I mean, my neighbor friend, Eddie, he introduced me to a guy that lived by the park whose name was Mr. Hunter. This is as storybook creepy shit as could possibly be, but Mr. Hunter used to let all the kids come over and he used to give them candy. I only went over there one time, and my parents said, "Where did you go?" And I said, "Oh, I went with Eddie, and then we went to Mr. Hunter's house and got candy." "You did what?" So I just told him about it, and I was innocent as can be. I was like a 3rd or 4th grader. So that came to an end really quick, and something happened to Mr. Hunter. He wasn't around anymore.
I mean, we had a peeping Tom in our neighborhood, and like my parents' sage advice, well, when you change, just make sure your windows and everything's closed. You know, it was like no big deal. Like it was like, okay, we have a peeping Tom in our neighborhood. You know, and I think that was very much that we didn't worry about what other people did, even though it was creepy and whatever. We just kind of like, okay, what can we do to mitigate this? What can we do so it doesn't affect our world? You know, and
yeah.
I haven't thought about that for a long time, but
there you go. We're bringing up all this repressed stuff. Oh my God, I'm gonna fall apart.
I know, because I mean, even now, if I had like a peeping Tom, I'd be like, "Oh my God, I need to call 911." You know what I mean? But back then, I was a child. I mean, I was like 7, and I knew what a peeping Tom was. I knew that he creeped in our windows every once in a while. I knew, you know what I mean?
Get it. I get it. Excuse me. Yeah, it's a different time. And I know that sounds really like, oh gosh, Bobby, that's really prolific. Yes, it is a different time. No, it's a different
obvious
time. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Put on my cape and I'm gonna fly away. Captain Obvious. Yeah, no, it is. It's such a different time today. And I think that the main topic that we had today is, are we too independent?
Yeah.
And I'll dovetail that a little bit with, are we so independent that we're not able to hear like the other generations? Because the reason that we have generations is because we can signify certain things that happened within those generations. Again, we go with the quintessential drinking from the hose.
Right.
Get 100 fourth graders and line them up today and ask them how many of them drank from a hose. I'll bet it's one. If you
I
did it
would
in
doubt
our
that.
day, it was 100. Every single kid drank from a hose, right? So I know it sounds cute and quintessential, but it's actually real. It's something to identify us and separate us.
Well, and it was
So
even a known thing. Even if it wasn't, if people didn't have kids and they saw kids drinking from their hose, it wasn't a big deal. They're like, oh, they're just playing. They need water. I mean, it wasn't
Mhm,
a huge ordeal. We would go out to
mhm.
strangers' houses and turn on the hose and drink from it. I mean, it was.
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
just like, okay.
Yeah. No, right. I mean, you're right. And some hoses were better than others. God, I remember some of them like, oh God, that's really rubbery and horrible tasting. Ugh. If we actually isolate that, that's gonna sound really, really bad. It is, isn't it? That's gonna sound really bad.
It does.
That
The
does.
rubbery hose.
Jesus, it was terrible. Uh,
We can have fun discussing serious things.
yeah. Oh, so what did you do today, Bobby? I just came out of the closet. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello. No, but it was weird how also the sandwich thing. Honest to God, I had a vision go through my head when you read that. I mean, there was a couple of families that I hung out with, and it's like, hey Bobby, do you want a sandwich? I'm like, yes, please. And we all had manners too. Let's mark that.
Right.
Because I do get on my daughter about manners, because I say, look, manners cost nothing.
Right.
It is a sign of respect.
And that was a regional thing too, because I remember when I moved to California, and that was when I was 21. So that was like 2000-ish. And they called me mom because I wouldn't do anything unless the nurse, because I was a tech at the time, and I would be like, can you say please and thank you?
Sorry, am I asking too much here? What's going on?
I know, because they would just bark orders, go do this, and I'm like, can we say please? Can we say thank you? Can we have just respect for one another? It was very much a regional thing too. I was brought up in the Midwest, so we were very much taught the please, thank you, and whatever.
Yep.
And depending on where you grew up, I'm not saying everybody in California doesn't say please and thank you. I'm just saying in my experience, that was not what was going on. And there's nothing wrong with setting boundaries. Of what?
No, those are good boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah.
My parents were from the Midwest. My mother was from Germany, so they're pretty polite. But my dad was from the let's see. Yeah, they were very into manners. I wasn't going to. I would just get things restricted from me if I forgot my manners. Period.
Yeah.
And with my daughter, she'll say, hey, can we go to Target? I need to get something. I'll go, and I'll just stare at her, just blank stare. And she's got it figured out by now that I'm just waiting for the magic words that make things happen, that show respect and love and kindness.
Right.
So yeah.
So I think quite often we get stuck in our old belief patterns that we have to do everything ourselves, and that it's a weakness if we have to ask for help. But it's a strength in asking for help. If you ask if you're asking people just to get the answer you want, not to work on yourself, that's not productive. But if you're asking people that can, really expand your mind, your body, your energy, whatever your goal is, that is what is key. Because I think quite often we ask people where we're going to get our answers that we want, so we don't have to work on ourselves. And I see it quite often. with people of our generation. Very much just, very skeptical, very, why can't people just become more resilient? They didn't grow up like us. They don't have the same perspective. So we
No, they
can't
didn't grow up like
really expect them to act like us because they grew up with helicopter parents. They grew up with
right.
everybody gets a star. They grew up with, and I'm not saying this in a negative, dismissive way. I'm saying it's a different perspective.
Yeah. Sorry. Here you go, Johnny. You got 7th place. Here's your participation award.
I know. Our participation award was we would get smacked in the back of the head. Get first next time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's our participation award.
Wow.
That's what it was.
Wow, Bobby. Did you run as hard as you could? Because it sure didn't look like it. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And also today, I don't know how it was for you, but my parents came to less than 5% of my events. They just didn't go. Basketball games, baseball games, football games, tennis matches, nothing. They just didn't. I had to go to it by myself. I got my gear, I got up, and I walked to wherever I need to walk to. Even in like Little League Baseball, they didn't go to my Little League Baseball games. I mean, I'm not saying they have to go to all of them, but probably more than 50% would be good. I was like definitely less than 5.
Well,
whereas today, parents go to all that stuff. It's like, come on, they got the soccer mom van and blah, 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 blah. Go ahead. Sorry, I stepped on you.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I would say my parents, that's the one thing that they always went to. They always went to my sporting events. And I was in like every sport you could be in. I did cross country basketball. I did track. I did volleyball. I did it all. And then I was trying to do cheerleading on top of that. And my athletics director's like, Kinsey, no, you already do too much.
Do too much.
But I wanted to be go big blue. No, not funny. Okay.
No. Yes, funny. Sorry. I'm just thinking about you doing all of those events and doing all that stuff. And you said they came to a good portion of them. So that's really good. No, I didn't have that. I had one of my buddies, his mom went to like 90% of stuff. They lived a block from us. So I would sometimes get a ride, to their house, and then I could walk home from there, which was nice. But I mean, my high school was 2.5 miles from my house, and there was no buses. Okay, uphill both ways in the snow with no shoes. I know. Shut up. But really, I mean, I had to walk to school and I had to walk to my events. And then the boys club, not the Boys and Girls Club, because I'm old. It was the PAL Boys Club. Do you know what PAL is the acronym for?
What? Police
Athletic League. Yeah, so we had the PAL Boys Club. And girls were allowed in there, but they just didn't call it the Boys and Girls Club.
Right.
And yeah, I had to walk there, and that's where I did baseball, because that's where they had all the baseball leagues for Little League. And I just remember very clearly walking there myself, just like honest to God, like a movie where I had my ball shoved in my mitt, and I had my mitt over my bat and my bat over my shoulder, walking like a hobo. And usually my cleats.
I would have to say, I think quite often as Gen Xers, we get very much anchored in our past. And we allow ourselves to get resentful towards others that didn't really have the same experience. And it doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve the other people, because we all have different perspectives. So if we set new intention to learn from one another, whether it be in our, like, right now we could learn so much from everybody how they're navigating post pandemic. I mean, because mental health is a huge thing right now. And I would say Gen Xers, for the most part, we do have a lot of positive coping. We're very resilient, but I would say we often have a lot of negative coping because we were very inundated with 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 drinking, with whatever, with our families. It wasn't as, you know I can still remember taking a drinking beer when I was very young because it wasn't as taboo. I would go and get cigarettes for my parents. It wasn't, you know what I mean? So we have a different lens when it comes to those things. So I think we have, you know, embrace those coping mechanisms in biases, if you will. I don't think it's something we consciously do, but I
Right.
think quite often people of our generation were like, "Oh my God, we had a crappy day. Let's go get a drink." You know what I mean? And that's not always the best approach.
I mean, again, you and I are a few years apart, but we're still Gen X. And the solution for my father was, just, let it go, have a drink and shut up. With my friends, it was, I'm getting off work and man, I need to go get a drink. And I think that mentality is a bit separated now. I think you do still have those people that do that because they want to have that party lifestyle.
Right.
But the consciousness that we have today, I got to applaud, the next generation and 2 generations back, is because they're actually taking the time to go, no, that's not going to be a healthy choice for me.
Right.
Excuse me. As I hiccup. Wow. That is, the Lord said, you're going to be funny right now. Do it. You're going to talk about the booze and then you're going to hiccup like a drunk. Ready, go.
Yeah. I think quite often setting new intentions of how we're going to go forward and not really anchoring ourselves in our past is key. Really, just really grounding down in our present to have an idea of where we want to go. Where do you want to expand to? Because there's needle point things we can do by setting intention each and every day, resetting our mental capacities each day, whether it's replenishing emotions or depleting emotions. Are you in that depleting anger, resentment, whatever? Or are you in the more of gratitude, joy, care, those type of and just because you anchor to replenishing doesn't mean it's going to be sunshines and rainbows. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to invite in the darkness to see the light. A good movie is Inside Out, where it talks about, have you seen that one?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. And towards the end, it really talks about, they looked at sadness as the girl that played sadness as being a negative, but that's how when she touched the positive emotions, she enhanced it to the point where she could learn from the sadness and embrace the light to move forward. And I think quite often we get in that absolute where it has to be negative or positive, sad or happy. But sometimes we have to invite in the sadness to really reflect upon what is going on, to set a new intention, which can change our values going forward. Because I don't have the same values I had at 20. Neither do you, So doing this stock of our, where we are with our values, with our friends, even friends. I mean, taking stock of your friends and removing toxic people. And it can be a little bit difficult if those toxic people are family. But
Yeah.
that's where boundaries, integrity boundaries, and
Yeah.
communication come in. And quite often we don't know
Mhm.
how to navigate that, and asking for help in that, whether it be a coach or a counselor, you can gain
Mhm.
new perspectives to really harness that relationship and make it
Yes.
work for you.
Mhm. I like that
So,
you said something about inviting in sadness, and the power in that is that we have had sadness so many times in our lives that we know how to identify it.
mhm,
I'm gonna relate it to McDonald's. Okay, you go to McDonald's in Portland, Oregon, or Portland, Maine. It's going to taste the same. It's relatable. We know what it is. When you
right,
say to somebody, "Hey, do you want McDonald's?" They already have the taste in their mouth. They know what it is, and they've decided if they want it, yes or no. So inviting somebody into that sadness vestibule, to have them there in that odd comfort of sadness, it makes it to where they can function better. Another thing that I wanted to touch on, excuse me, as you were talking about the absolutes,
mhm,
one of them is that sometimes when we are in an absolute, we think we're there, but we're actually not, because we don't know what the other 20% is.
right,
Like, tell me what you're feeling right now.
mhm,
I'm mad and I'm sad. I'm like, okay, can you, is there anything else that you can describe? And a lot of times I get no. That's because we don't know exactly what that feeling is. We're trying to, we don't have to label it. We just have to honor it, is what I'm
right,
trying to get to.
right,
Um, and I've told my daughter that. She's 15, of course, a 15-year-old girl. I don't need to explain that. Okay. I could be, the funniest guy in the world 1 minute, and 8 minutes later, I've got this stoic face looking at me. I'm like, oh
right,
my God, I've had audiences like you. Holy shit. But
right.
yeah, yeah, honoring that and getting somewhere comfortable, getting somebody in a place that they're comfortable to where they can do it, even if it's kind of ugly. I mean, sadness is not a great place to be, but if they're all confused, then
Mhm.
sadness isn't a bad place to be at that moment, so they could see the other stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think for our generation, Gen X, we were very much taught to bury our emotions, kind of like that beach ball. We keep pushing down, because I would say men and women, in my experience with our generation, we were very much taught not to honor our emotions. We weren't. We were, suck it up and
Buttercup.
move on. And we didn't really give much honor to how we were feeling. And I think that's contributed to us feeling very much on quicksand now with our emotions, because we're in a space where, especially post pandemic,
Post
that
pedantic.
pedantic, we, you know to move through it, the grieving process, we have to honor our 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 emotional states to move through them
Hmm.
and to grow,
Yeah,
you know? So
we
I think
do. Hmm.
we're in kind of a little quicksand type of area in our life where
Hmm.
we have to look in the mirror. We don't have to, but for us to grow and heal in the grieving process, it's required.
It is. You're right. And touching on something that we talked about last week and dovetailing it into this week, which is, today's show is brought to you by talking about how we're very, very independent.
Hmm.
Um, we talked the other day about just staying in the misery because that's what we know.
Comfort zone.
That independence is not what you have to have. You can let go of some of it in some areas.
Hmm.
Talk to people that you love, know, and trust. Your husband or wife, your preacher, your counselor, your life coach.
Yep.
Probably not the bartender. Just saying.
No.
And
They'll just
say,
pour
hey,
you
I've
another
got this
drink.
going on. Yeah. What did you say?
They'll just pour you another drink.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Bobby. Shut up. Here's some more gin.
We'll get in that
Just.
hypoarousal state,
Mm-hmm.
that numbing out state.
Yeah. I'll start singing "Drinking Again" by Frank Sinatra.
I know. I know.
Yeah. Um, nice. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think, a lot of times with our generation, we just keep plugging, and we don't really honor ourselves. We don't
Mm-hmm.
honor our emotions. We often feel that it's selfish. We have a tendency to think that we're the only one, and we don't
Mm-hmm.
often talk to anybody about it unless we're in a complaining state where there's no positive or
Wow.
productive.
Yeah,
Um,
you nailed that. You're right.
yeah.
I agree with all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, we tend to just bottle it up, or if we get into that complaining mode, it's like you can't shut us up.
Right.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
really doesn't cultivate that resilience muscle. It just gets you in
Mm-hmm.
the victimhood or the survival mindset, where the focus is lack. And the goal is to be in that growth warrior type of mindset where you can expand and evolve. And
Growth warrior. I like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I call it the warrior mindset.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
I
even just growing a little bit, I mean, that's kind of what we're trying to convey here, is that we don't
Mhm.
need people or expect people to make massive changes in one day. There are changes that you can make in one day that are massive, like, for instance, quitting smoking, quitting
Mhm.
drinking, quitting
Mhm.
something that is, actually overtly horrible. Like, okay, I'm cutting out fast food. That's a big
Right.
deal. If you want to do that, do that. But what we're saying is that we want you to reflect. We want you to take a moment to just pan back and say, yeah, I could make that change. And here's the big thing. I got $1 says that Kinsey will back me up on this. Don't be afraid.
Yep.
Just do it. Just go for it.
Yep.
You don't be comfortable in this kind of semi pseudo misery that you have, you
Mhm.
know? Like, for me, my goal is to drop a pound a week right now.
Right.
The gym, they want you to drop 2.5 to 3 pounds a week, but that's if you're going to the gym 5 days a week and working out and doing the perfect protein shakes and yada yada yada. I'm not. I'm just trying to actually watch what I eat. I'm watching my consumption, and it's
Right.
working. I'm
Right.
feeling better. I love
Right.
it. But it
Right.
takes a minute. Also, it takes a minute. You're not going to solve this in one day. We live in a world of instant gratification, and it has modified how we think about things should be solved. Things take a moment.
Right. I mean, it took 40 some, 50 some years to put on that weight. So, I mean, it's going
Mm-hmm.
to take a little bit of time
Yeah.
to get it off. We
Mm-hmm.
live, I mean, I know that I speak about this all the time, but we live in this very microwaved society where everything is instant gratification. I mean, look at all the platforms, you get the like and whatever, dopamine hit, you know what I mean? And people
Mm-hmm.
get addicted. We can get addicted to so many different things. I mean, just having awareness, that is key to growing. That's in expanding and
Mm-hmm.
embracing a new way of being, you
Yeah.
know? And
Mm-hmm.
so, um, it's gonna be uncomfortable, and quite often, and I hear this quite often with Gen Xers because I'm very much about positivity, gratitude, stuff like that. And a lot of people my age, they're like,
Mm-hmm.
Kinsey, you're so Pollyanna, you're so whatever. And I'm just like, no, I go, if I didn't embrace the positivity in my journey after my car accident, I probably would still be
Yeah.
in the wheelchair.
Oh,
So there,
quite
there,
possible. No, seriously, quite possible.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I would have anchored to the negativity. It's not
Mm-hmm.
always positive to anchor to that negativity. I can
Mm-hmm.
anchor to it to learn from it, but not anchor to it to justify my life as it is. That's the
Mm-hmm.
difference. like going back to Inside Out, you can touch it for
Yep.
a moment, but you don't live in the cesspool, the marsh of it, you
Right.
know?
No, I totally get it, and not to make it humorous at all, because that movie, when you watch it from a mental health standpoint, they really did a good job.
They did an awesome
They
job.
really, really did, and I think that it meant something to them to not take the piss out of any of the emotions or feelings that we have, and we're talking to generally younger people, so it's good to give
Right.
them that worldly knowledge. But yeah, we're very independent, us Gen X people, and that's a great quality that we have.
Right.
But one of my adages is that nothing is 100%,
No.
not even gold.
No.
Nothing is 100%. Being Gen X and being independent is not 100% good.
Yeah.
There are some negatives to it. So let's actually pan that out. Talking
Right.
about gold again. Pan that out and see if we can't get to a couple of those things going, oh, maybe I should talk to my husband more. Maybe I should talk to my wife more.
Mhm.
Huh. Maybe I should actually give my boss a chance and not be so hard on him because he's not Gen X and he's younger than me, and I hate the fact that he's younger than me. Things like that.
Or just, setting integrity boundaries at work so you have
Oh
a
yeah.
work balance, home life balance.
Yep.
I'm very
Mhm.
much in that. And a lot of my nursing friends, they're just like, Kinsey, I love how you set boundaries. Because I told my work,
Mhm.
I go, look,
Good.
I have a business, so me picking up is probably nil to none. So please don't call me. You can text me and
Mhm.
ask. I have no problems with that. But just so you know, the likelihood of me coming in it is nil to none because I'm
Mhm.
doing my business besides
Right.
doing my nursing.
Right.
And, you know, prior to my accident, I would have anchored into the guilt and all of that. And I would have worked myself to the bone, which I did because they're very much quite often nurses, they're just like, you're going to leave your staff short. You're going to do whatever, the whole dialogue. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, I was hired for a certain amount of hours. I'm going to honor that. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with me coming in early. That is on you. That's on
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
We've already
I
talked
I
about the
don't
schedule. Yep.
I don't have any guilt or shame,
Mhm.
or I don't feel bad because I'm contracted to work a certain amount, and I honor that. But I
Mhm.
don't have to work more, and I don't have to have somebody, my employer or whatever, make me feel guilty about it. It's all
Mhm.
about integrity boundaries.
Yep.
And so,
I get it.
the thing is a
Yeah.
lot of people, they become waspy with it, and they don't hold up that boundary, and
Okay.
they go back and forth. So your employer will push back if you keep
Mhm.
back and forth with it,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah. No, I see what you're
Um,
saying.
yeah.
Hmm.
So, and
I love it.
I think a lot of people get in that where they just feel guilty, or
Mhm.
they feel like they have to, or they're letting, because I think quite often we're in that people, if we have trauma, a lot of us will be in that people pleasing type of where we validate our worth based on what we do, not who we be, you
Mhm.
know?
Yep.
When we know our values, when we know who we are, then we can value our worth on who we be, not what we do. Me and being a nurse,
Yo,
me
man, who
being
you be? I be
who
me. I be
be.
me. Mhm. What's
Because
up,
I
man? Who
was
you be?
very anchored in what I did. That was my whole
Mhm.
identity before my accident. And I think I would say a large percentage of nurses are in that category.
Yeah.
And yeah. And nursing in general, I would say, a lot of nurses, especially my age, Gen Xers, they're
Mhm.
getting the heck out. They're just fed
Oh
up.
yeah, it's about that time. No, I totally get it.
They're fed
Wow,
up.
we got to set a timer. Hello?
Hello.
We got to set a timer. Look, it's 40 minutes.
I know we were talking good. We're talking good. But no, so you know, to close it out, you know, it's okay to honor your past, not anchor to it. And being in the present and knowing that, we can do things a little bit different to reach the best version of ourselves, of where we want to go. Because we kind of have to know the dot on the map so we can put the GPS, the goal, so that we can keep moving forward, reset, and set intention.
That's a good analogy. I like that.
And every day, sometimes we might need a little more gas. Sometimes we might need, you know what I mean? Rotate our tires. It's just really just having awareness. It's super powerful.
Yes.
In your journey. So this independence, yes, it can be a positive thing, but when we anchor to it completely, then we don't allow the vulnerability to come in where we can grow.
There's only so much space.
Yeah.
There's only so much that we can take in, and you have to kind of like let some of it out to be able to bring some more in. I think of my dad every time, because I would say something to him. It would be like information or knowledge about something. He goes, "Where am I going to put that? Now I'm going to let something out so I can let this in, and I don't know what I need or don't need in there, you know." But it's kind of true. You do need to let go of a couple of things so you can do a couple other things. And we're all trying to do it and get better at it. I am still. I just want to reassure myself that I am actually keeping on this track and doing it. I do a self-check every day to say, are you doing the things that you need to do? And as long as I'm doing at least a little of it, sometimes I do a lot of it that day, a lot. But sometimes it's a little. It's like, well, that's how that day went. But do something is what we're saying.
Right.
All right.
It's just honoring you, and it in your daily routines. If you don't get everything done that you want done that day, it's okay, as long as you set intention to do it the next day, and doing little needle point moves each and every day, and surrendering what doesn't serve you.
Yes, and forgive yourself for not being able to get it done that day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And
so, okay.
Yeah. And really watching your language, and, because quite often a lot of people are like, I always do this. This is just
I know you in the definites. Yeah, you in the definites. I love that. I'm not bagging on you. I swear, you have pointed these things out to me, and it is a habit. I always do that, and like, no. So I've gotten to the point where I've started pointing it out to other people so that I can keep myself in check.
Right.
I always point it out to other people. How do you like that? How do you like that?
I love it.
Huh?
I love it.
Well, where can they find us?
Where can they find us?
Didn't you do some new stuff to where it's easier for people to find us?
Well, no, it's on YouTube. I put it on a playlist.
All right, cool.
In the next couple weeks, I'm going to be uploading them directly instead of just having them stream directly. But it will be under the playlist of the GEN X-PLORATION. So in the coming weeks, it will be that way. Since we're, doing this, I'm still streaming it now. But the weeks going forward, I'm going to upload them.
Okay, deal.
Yeah,
all right, cool.
I think it'll be easier to find it that way. Plus, I'm working on my own, YouTube content, so I'm going to be doing that also. And then I have some exciting things in the next coming months, that I'm going to be doing. So,
good. Okay, can't wait to hear about that.
I know. So everybody like, subscribe, do all that fun jazz. I hope you found value. If you did, push that button, like, subscribe, the little bell, and we'll see you every week. This is from our hearts to your heart, because we do this on our spare time. This is not, this is, we think there's a need. And so that is why we're here, and we're willing to do that, because that's just it's from our heart space to yours. So
exactly.
Yeah. So like, subscribe, do all the fun jazz, and we will see you next week.
Sounds great.
All right.
Okay. Bye everybody.